Hi, this is Sandy McEwen, the president of the Naperville Women's Club. This is June 12th, 2020, and this is a virtual briefing number 4 for June. This should be a shorter one than usual because really with the pandemic there's really not much to talk about. We haven't been meeting. So hopefully this will be a little shorter. Before we get started, I hope you notice that I'm a tad more fashionable than usual. I have this lovely summer hat that is indicative of a couple things. One is that it's a beautiful summer sunny day outside, and so the hat is celebrating summer. Secondly, I plan to go outside when I'm done with this, and this is not only a beautiful way but a protective way to stay in the sun. So if you're out walking or going to the grocery store or sitting out on your patio, be sure you put this on to protect yourself from the sun. And I hope you have one as pretty as I do. The first thing I want to talk about is our yearbook. As you know, we are working on the 2021 annual Naperville Women's Club yearbook. So all that information that you've been sending in on your membership forms, Anita has been compiling and putting together a membership list which will be used for the yearbook. What we are missing for that yearbook is some updated pictures. Notice I said pictures and not picture. The yearbook committee, which is primarily Laura Caldwell and Jerry Armitage and Donna Shaw, came up with a pretty neat idea that I like, that we're going to do a pandemic version this year. What does that mean, a pandemic version? Well, basically that means for this year, we would like you to submit 2 pictures, okay? For the pandemic version, we would like you to submit pictures like this. This is me. This is normal Sandy. And this is pandemic Sandy. So at any given time this year, you might see me in one of those 2 pictures. So we're asking that you also submit 2 pictures. If you have a smartphone, which most of you do, you simply take a selfie, save it, then put your mask on, take another selfie, save it, and send those pictures to either Jerry Armitage or Laura Caldwell. So we can have the pandemic version of the yearbook for 2020 reflect really what we looked like during this time. The second thing I'd like to talk about is a program that is up and coming. As you may remember, Donna Shaw is our program chair, and we don't have a lot going on with programs because we don't have any meetings, but we do have ideas for the future. And one of them that we would like your help in preparing for is called Blast from the Past Member Match. What we'd like you to do is dig into those old photo albums and find a picture of you ages 3 to 10, preferably not older, and either take that picture and bring it to one of our designated meetings for this program, or copy that picture and bring the copy. And we're going to take all those child pictures and put them on a board and give you a list of members who brought the child pictures and ask you to match the child picture to the adult picture of our members. It should be fun. So your job again is to find a picture of you age 3 to 10 and get that ready to bring to our meetings when we begin to meet again. This other thing I'd like to talk about is a project that we can all engage in keeping connected. So it's important that when we're separate like this because of the situation of the pandemic, that we find ways to stay connected with one another. I've come up with an idea called the Pandemic Pen Pal Project. Do you remember the days of pen pals? When we were in grade school, either at school or at church, we would have a pen pal from another country, another state, and we would diligently write letters back and forth, and we would get to know each other so thoroughly through those pen pal projects. Some of us maintained them for years. Well, I'd like us to have a similar pen pal project within our membership. So what I will be asking all of you to do is to find a bright, cheery card, a greeting card. And what you're going to do is you're going to write to another member a little spotlight about yourself. So in that card, you're going to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit about the job or career that you had or still have. If you have children or grandchildren, maybe where you grew up and how many siblings you had. Also include maybe what drew you to the Naperville Women's Club, why you decided to join the club, and maybe the thing that you find most enjoyable about your club membership. And lastly, maybe include a little tidbit or a secret about yourself that maybe none of us know. Just something that maybe would be unexpected about you. And what you're going to do is I'm going to, in the future, send you the membership list that Anita has put together, and you're going to go on that list and find your name, and the next person on the list underneath you, you're going to be sending that cute little cherry card with your spotlight. So let's just say let's just say it's Sandy Baker. And then underneath me was Erin Berry. So I would send a cheery little card with my member spotlight to Erin Berry. So that information will be forthcoming in an email, and I'm asking that you participate in that. This way you kind of get to know that person a little bit better, and everybody gets to know a little bit more about one other member. So we're staying connected. That way when we do get back together and you can go up to that person and say, I didn't know that you used to ride horses in rodeos. So you'll be getting information about that. So I hope you plan to participate in the Pandemic Pen Pal project. The next thing I want to remind you about, if you haven't done so already, is to please pay your dues. Membership dues are $72 a year. The deadline for those dues to be included in the yearbook is July 1st. As you know, we're not meeting, so the only way that we are accepting dues at this time is by check and in the mail. So make out your check to Naperville Women's Club for $72 and mail that check. Put it in an envelope with a stamp to the Naperville Women's Club, 14 South Washington Street, Naperville, Illinois, 60540. Because, ladies, whether we like it or not, even though we're not meeting, we're still collecting money. Okay. The next thing I want to remind you about is the Blue Ribbon Fashion Show. Usually the Blue Ribbon Fashion Show is in the spring. It was canceled due to the pandemic. I have received some communications that they are trying to reschedule that for September. That to me is a little hopeful, but as the communication keeps coming, I'll be sending it to you, depending on how the reopening phases are in accordance then. I would like us to be able to be a part of that. You usually have a table of 10. It would be great if we had 2 tables of 10 this year, but as I said, put it somewhere in your calendar for September that we might be attending the Blue Ribbon Fashion Show that usually is at the Bolingbrook Country Club. And as I said, further communications from me will be forwarded to you. Speaking of meetings, because that would be a big one, the fashion show, our meetings committee is curious to reach out to you to see where your feelings are about meeting again and how to meet again. So Pam Cieslak and her meetings committee and myself are particularly interested in knowing, regardless of what the phase reopening states, what are your feelings about attending meetings? I'll talk about it more at the end, but the next phase that we're to move into, phase 4, does allow for meetings of up to 50 people. So if we move into that phase, logistically, we would be able to have meetings, but what we want to know is, would you be inclined to attend those meetings? So at this point, if you could get back to me, I'd kind of like to know so our meetings committee and the rest of us know, even if we can have meetings, will you be comfortable in attending? So just email me sbmckeown1@aol.com. That's sbmckeon1@aol.com, and say, yeah, Sandy, I can't wait to attend meetings. Yes, I am inclined to be in attendance at a July or August meeting. Or no, I'm not comfortable going to any kind of public gatherings yet. So just email me, sbmckeown1, and say, yeah, I'll be there if it's okay. Or no, I don't feel comfortable. If in fact we do go forward with meetings, our meetings committee has decided that it would be best to do what's called a brown bag meeting. That means you bring your own lunch. So either make your peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a ham sandwich, or stop at your favorite eatery to pick up something, but we will not be providing lunch during these meetings. We will be brown bagging it. So again, get back to me, sbmckeown1@aol.com, letting me know, yeah, I will be attending if it's okay by the restrictions to attend, or no, I'm not going to be there. The next thing I'd like to remind you about is that despite the cancellation of the art fair, we went forward and did something artsy by having a Chalk the Walk art display on our many social media platforms. And we've asked for submissions of not just kids, but anybody in the community that will do a fancy chalk display on their sidewalk or driveway and submit it to us to share. So if you haven't done that, spread the word to the neighborhood kids and to your grandchildren to get busy with some beautiful chalk work or chalk art, and turn that in via our social media platforms in order for us to continue showing the great works of art in our community. We are doing themes for that, and the next theme that we are asking for is for people to turn in chalk art of their pet or their favorite animal. So I may even go purchase some chalk and try to do a picture of my beautiful big dog Axel. If you have any artistic talent, or even if you don't, just get out there and draw something on your sidewalk or your driveway, take a picture and submit it. So look for Chalk the Walk, Spread the Cheer on our social media platforms. The next thing that we're going to be doing, Sue Hanegraaff, Laura Caldwell, Karen Breezy, Paloma Halvin, they are going to be working on a sponsor and philanthropy spotlight on our social media platforms. Basically what that is all of the sponsors that have been so generous of their time and money and in-kind donations, we're going to spotlight them on our Facebook pages and our Instagram pages, Twitter, letting them know what they're doing as far as their businesses go, if they're restaurants, what kind of curbside services they're offering, family plans, special menu packages, and highlighting them as our sponsors and sharing information about what they're doing for the community and how they're serving the community in their capacity during this time. We're going to follow up that with a philanthropy spotlight. So all of our past charities, philanthropy agencies and organizations, we are going to be spotlighting them with how they're serving the community during the pandemic, and what they're asking the community to contribute during this time. So if they can provide money or toiletries or whatever the case may be, we will be spotlighting what they want the community to know. So that's kind of our way of staying integrated and connected with our community, both our business community and our social service agency community. So look for that on our social media platforms. And special shout out to Donna and Julie and the communications people in moving us forward and keeping us connected that way. The last thing I'd like to talk about is something I talked about before, which is the Naperville Women's Club pandemic history. which is basically a couple months by now. But if you remember, Melody Coleman, our historian, had asked us all to maintain record keeping of what each one of us are feeling, doing, collecting, pictures we're taking during this historic pandemic time, so that we have something to share with the future generations about what it was like and what each one of us experienced. I, for one, have been collecting all the newspapers I get that talk a little bit about how it's affected us. This particular article is talking about all the summer closings, including our wonderful Centennial Beach is not opening this year, and some of the other cancellations, like the Naper Nights is going to be canceled. Almost all of the festivals at Naperville, including our art fair and Witches Night Out, have been canceled. Also going to share pictures of what followed up, which we've been experiencing lately, is all the protests since the George Floyd murder in Minneapolis, and all the protests that are going on around the nation and around the world. And this one is pictures of what's going on in Naperville and what it's looked like. Also, she's looking for any personal experiences. If you keep a journal, are you willing to share that journal information with the club, so that can be part of our historical documentation of what we felt, what we saw, what we experienced during the times of the pandemic and now the protests. So again, save all of that. If you're taking pictures or you write things on a computer, transfer it to a little disk drive, flash drive, and get that to Melody so she can begin to develop that historical memory of our membership during this unprecedented time of both the pandemic and the protests. Last, but certainly not least, the thing I want to talk about is the next phase, because as far as the pandemic goes, everything is still not okay. All right? In Illinois, we have topped 133,000 cases of the COVID-19 virus. We still are the fourth highest state for COVID outbreaks. The United States has at least three times more COVID positive cases than anywhere in the world, topping 2,035,000 cases. That all sounds really bad, doesn't it? The good part of the news that I'm going to share with you is that in Illinois, our positivity rate for COVID cases is at 3.4%. 2 days ago, it was at 4%. Several weeks ago, it was at 10%. So we are decreasing in the amount of COVID cases. If that continues, then we will stay on track for Phase 4 of Restore Illinois, which is positively called revitalization. So let me tell you what Phase 4 looks like. In order for us to open Illinois in Phase 4, called revitalization, there has to be a continued decline in the rate of infection of new COVID-19 cases. That means that hospitals have the capacity and can quickly adapt for a surge of new cases in their communities. That means that additional measures can be carefully lifted, which allow for schools and child care programs to reopen with appropriate social distancing policies. Restaurants can open to the inside with limited capacity and also following strict guidelines for personal protective equipment such as masks and gloves for both servers and masks for guests. Gatherings with 50 people or fewer will be permitted. This also means that testing for COVID-19 is widely available to everyone and that tracing has become commonplace. So if everything stays in order, we're looking in the next few weeks to go to phase 4 revitalization. Now, all that sounds very positive, but to be honest with you, there are over 26 states since all of the protesting over the George Floyd murder in Minneapolis has taken place across all the nations and some cities in the world as well. There's massive protests there's no social distancing when there's hundreds and thousands of people gathering together, although most of them were wearing masks. But they're not sure, but they think that this element of protesting of hundreds and thousands of people throughout the nation may have resulted in a spike of COVID cases in at least 26 states. Illinois so far is not one of them. But we have had our share of protests. In Naperville as well, we've had over 2 weeks of consistent protests of crowd sizes varying in number. So we're still going to be on the watch out for that. So if for any reason our testing for positivity goes up, that may delay phase 4 opening for Illinois, which would allow meetings of 50 or fewer. That being said, I'm going to stay on the positive side. I'm still following all the rules of wearing masks, and I do wear gloves when I go to grocery stores or gas stations or things like that. Wash your hands regularly, but stay positive, and hopefully we'll see each other soon. But until that time, stay healthy, wear your mask and your gloves, and wear this when you're outside. And I hope to see you all in person soon.